Michael Penix Jr. to the Atlanta Falcons with the 8th overall pick. We're going to grade that one and every other first round pick here today on Rogue Football. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm Jordan Lugo. Previous record for the most offensive players to start a draft was 7. We just saw 14 offensive players come off the board to start the 2024 NFL draft. Really unbelievable. I think some teams are going to regret those decisions, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and get into it. First overall, Caleb Williams. This is an A for me. It was a no-brainer for the Chicago Bears to go select Caleb Williams, who is an unbelievable talent. His arm is just superlative. He can put the football anywhere he wants, from any platform, anywhere on the field. And I think he's the type of guy that immediately is going to be one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league physically. I think he's going to grow within this offense. The Bears have surrounded him with incredible talent at receiver. I think that they are moving in the right direction. Love what the Chicago Bears did with the first overall pick, getting Caleb Williams. That is an A. Easy decision, but still an A. They made the right decision. Number 2, Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels. I think they needed to land a quarterback. Obviously, that was the main goal here. But to me, they landed the wrong quarterback. Not that I don't think Jaden Daniels can be a good NFL starting quarterback. I had a first-round grade on him. He has a beautiful deep ball. He grew as a processor, as a pocket manager throughout his career. He's an unbelievable athlete running around. But I think that there are size concerns. His inability to avoid big hits. You saw him get knocked out of multiple games in 2023 taking big hits. You want to make sure you avoid that. I think that you also see some issues working over the middle of the field consistently. But Jaden Daniels, it's going to be interesting. This one is a C for me for the Washington Commanders because they passed on the guy that New England Patriots landed at 3 overall, Drake May, which is an A+, because they're getting Drake May, who in my opinion is kind of like the 1B to Caleb Williams, with the 3rd overall pick, with the 3rd quarterback selection off the board, right? So I think Drake May has all the potential in the world to be a franchise-changing quarterback, a franchise quarterback in the NFL. Has the size, the arm talent, the athleticism, everything you're looking for, the competitive nature. Really good tape as well for a lot of his career. Yes, there were mistakes, but I don't think he had the best supporting cast, and he's still a young prospect. So I think he's going to keep growing. I think that he's going to be a fantastic quarterback in the NFL. New England Patriots get a steal with the 3rd overall pick thanks to the Washington Commanders taking Jaden Daniels. At 4, the Cardinals, they stay put. Marvin Harrison Jr., it's an A. This was chalky. It was easy. It makes sense. The Cardinals didn't trade down because they already had a ton of draft capital for the 2024 NFL draft. They get Kyler Murray, his wide receiver 1. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to quickly become one of the top receivers in the NFL. At 5, the Chargers also stayed put, another team that was rumored to move down. They drafted Joe Alt. This one gets an A for me. He is a blue chip prospect. It's interesting because he played left tackle at Notre Dame. Do I think he can't play right tackle? No, I just haven't seen it. But I believe in the talent. I believe that you've now surrounded Justin Herbert with 2 bookend tackles. I think you can get really fired up about that if you're a Chargers fan. And of course, this is a Jim Harbaugh type of pick. Build up that offensive line, protect Justin Herbert, get the running game going. I like it a lot. At 6, the New York Giants selected Malik Neighbors. I thought they should go Romo Dunze personally. I thought he would be a better fit, but cannot knock Malik Neighbors. He's an A. For the New York Giants. Unbelievable athlete. His throttle control, his acceleration, ability to just change gears up and down and leave defenders in the dust is unparalleled. Can adjust to the football, go up and get it. Freak athlete, very good receiver, very young, super productive at LSU. So I think that's an A as well. The Titans, J.C. Latham. For me, process-wise, this gets a C+. I think there were better offensive tackles available on the board for the Tennessee Titans, but at the same time, J.C. Latham is incredibly talented. He's powerful. He has, maybe the most strength in his frame in this class at the offensive tackle position. And I think that he's got a lot of upside. I think he needs a lot more refinement in pass pro and in the run game than some of the other guys that were available. But that's why you have Bill Callahan if you're the Tennessee Titans, one of the best offensive line coaches in the game. That, for me, again, the process probably a C+, but I think the results are going to end up probably looking better than that because Bill Callahan can coach up J.C. Latham, even though he's not my top tackle on the board. At that point, I think that it's going to end up working out for the Titans. So not a horrible grade there, but I think they could have done better overall. I think that, while you can say, yeah, J.C. Latham will get coached up by Bill Callahan and improve, you could say that about the other offensive tackles that were available and higher rated on my board as well. So that's just my personal opinion. Now at 8, the Atlanta Falcons, as I mentioned to start this show, Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, quarterback, after you just dropped a massive bag to go get Kirk Cousins. To me, this makes zero sense because it's not like you're drafting Michael Penix, who is a project upside young player, 21 years old. He's going to be 24 when his rookie year starts. By the time that he's up for his second contract, he's going to be close to 30 years old. It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. So this is an F, right? Like, you have your quarterback. I think that you have a lot of receiving talent, offensive talent as a whole with the offensive line, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. You brought in Darnell Mooney. I think that the Falcons should have gone defense here. They absolutely should have. And they didn't. They went and got a quarterback to sit on the bench for the next 4 years. That's an F. 9. Chicago Bears, Rome Odunze, A+. They get great value here. They add another piece to the arsenal, another weapon to the arsenal for Caleb Williams. They now have DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen at wide receiver, and they've also got good tight ends and running backs. They've got a pretty good offensive line up front. It's set up extremely well for the Bears. I think they're going to be competing for the playoffs, and I'm going to probably predict that they make the playoffs in 2024 with what they've done over the last calendar year or so. At 10, this is where the Vikings select their quarterback. We thought they might trade up earlier. I think it's odd that they decided to trade for 23 and then not use that to pursue their quarterback of the future. But however it worked out for the Vikings in their head mentally, they still were able to get J.J. McCarthy by trading up to 10 with the Jets. They just traded up one spot, gave up a day 3 pick to make sure that the Broncos or some other team could not get in front of them to take J.J. McCarthy. For me, this is a B type of player that I thought I would be comfortable with the Vikings taking at 11, which is basically what they did. I didn't really want them to trade up for J.J. McCarthy because I didn't think he was worth that much draft capital, but it still just makes the trade for 23 very confusing because you gave up your second this year and your second in 2025. We're going to talk about the Vikings process a little bit more later on, but I think landing J.J. McCarthy as a quarterback of the future, a guy who has a very talented arm, great athlete, great leader. I get why you would want to bet on him early in the draft, so I have no problem with that at all. At 11, the Jets, again, they traded down for Olu Fashanu, offensive tackle out of Penn State. This is an A+ for me. I've been advocating for the Jets to make sure that the offensive front is fortified for Aaron Rodgers in 2024 and beyond. This is a make or break year for the Jets. They've got to make the playoffs. They've got to push, try to win a Super Bowl. I think that making sure that that offensive line does not crater the way it did in 2023 is critical for them. And they already have a good amount of offensive weapons. When you talk about Garrett Wilson, you brought in Mike Williams. You have a decent tight end room. You have a very good running back room. Bring in Olu Fashanu to make sure that offensive line doesn't fall apart when you did bring in guys, that have an injury history. Makes a lot of sense. I think the Jets could go for a wide receiver in the second round if they end up trading up into the second round, certainly in the third round. We'll see how it plays out for them. But taking Olu Fashanu with the 11th pick and recouping a day 3 pick, that's an A+ for me for the Jets. Love that process. At 12, Denver Broncos, Bo Nix. It gets a B for me. I think Bo Nix is worth a first-round pick, and I think he's a perfect fit for the Sean Payton offense. I don't think he would be a first-round talent for every team, but Bo Nix, with his ability to keep the offense on time, he's not going to force throws too often. He will be able to, again, just keep the offense moving, keep the chains moving. And then he does have a beautiful deep ball, and he's a good athlete. He's a playmaker. He can certainly create with his arm and his legs. So I think it's a good fit for the Denver Broncos. I like that for them. It's a B, not an overwhelming prospect, but I think a good prospect that can be a good starter in the NFL. At 13, the Raiders, they missed out on the quarterback party, right? 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks, but they did not miss out on Brock Bowers. That's an A+. The Raiders are now tight end U, right? They've got Brock Bowers. They got Michael Mayer. I think their 12 personnel sets are going to be awesome to see. They have Gardner Minshew. They have Aiden O'Connell. Surrounding them with talent makes sense when you couldn't get the quarterback you wanted. Brock Bowers was the best prospect on the board by a wide margin. He was my number 2 overall prospect. So to land him at 13 overall, that's awesome for the Las Vegas Raiders. At 14, New Orleans Saints, they had to take an offensive tackle. They did. Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State. For me, though, this is a B. I think, landing an offensive tackle is an A+. They needed it. Absolutely. You have to keep Derek Carr upright. The problem for me is I think Talise Fuaga is going to struggle with some of the better edge rushers in the NFL playing at right tackle. I think you would much rather see him inside at guard. The Saints don't really need help at guard. They're going to plug him in at right tackle. He's going to be their starter. I hope it works out for them and him. I like him a lot. I just don't think he has the foot quickness, overall athleticism. But we'll see how it plays out. So it gets a B for me. Definitely a first-round prospect at tackle or guard, but for me at tackle, a little bit lower down the board. The Colts, they got Leatu Latu at 15. That's an A. He is awesome. I love him. I think that, doesn't have the best length, not the freakiest athlete on the planet, but such a technically refined prospect, a guy that has dealt with a lot throughout his career, obviously having to medically retire a couple years ago, comes back with a vengeance. He weaponizes his hands. He's got great bend. He's a good athlete overall. I think he's going to be a really dynamic pass rusher for the Colts. At 16, Byron Murphy to the Seattle Seahawks. That's an A. Byron Murphy, unbelievable interior penetrator, pass rusher, 3-down skill set. Did they need another guy like that? Maybe not. But I think that having as many dominant defensive front players in a Mike McDonald defense makes a lot of sense. So love Byron Murphy for them. At 17, the Vikings traded up with the Jaguars for Dallas Turner. Great fit. Dallas Turner is a fantastic fit for the Minnesota Vikings. I think I've mocked him there before because he is a versatile edge rusher, a guy that can do so much in this defense, in this Brian Flores defense, being able to drop into coverage, being able to rush the passer, move around the formation, also play the run. The sky is the limit for him with his athletic upside. He's already a pretty good player. So great fit, but weird trade process, right? They have now mortgaged, the Vikings have, their 2025 NFL draft. They gave up the 2nd round pick to get to 23. They gave up 3rd and 4th round picks to get to 17 and a 2024 5th round pick. The Jaguars moved back 6 spots and picked up a ton of draft capital. Obviously I'm a Jaguars guy, but you talk to anybody around the league that covers draft compensation, draft capital, trades. This was a weird move for the Minnesota Vikings from a value proposition standpoint. Again, I like the fit of Dallas Turner to the Vikings, but this is a C because the process just so strange, and you now have mortgaged a lot of your 2025 NFL draft. The Bengals at 18 overall, Amarius Mims, that's an A+. The Bengals, they've been kind of not going all in on offensive line, and they did that here, and I love that. Amarius Mims is a freak show of an athlete, a great football player, a guy that, on tape, even though he doesn't have a ton of tape, really good. He's not just a project out there. Yes, he's a little green. He's a little inexperienced, but you wouldn't really be able to tell that by just watching the tape that's available. And again, one of the freakiest athletes at the tackle position you could ever find. So I'm excited for the Bengals to land someone like that at 18 overall. At 19, the Los Angeles Rams, their first round pick in almost a decade. I mean, it's been forever. Jared Verse, defensive end out of Florida State. That's an A+. Great value at this point in the draft. Speed to power, merchant, super explosive, good hands. I think he's going to play the run at a high level. He's going to insert and inject some juice into that Rams defensive front immediately. Love that for them. At 20, the Steelers, Troy Fautanu, another A+. 3 straight A+s here. In the NFL draft, 18 to 20 was fantastic. Troy Fautanu has that Steelers kind of mindset, super aggressive. He can play tackle, he can play guard, he can probably play center as well. He's got length, athleticism, he's got technical refinement. His snatch trap is absolutely dirty. I think Troy Fautanu was a great pick for the Steelers at 20. Then at 21, the Dolphins selected edge Chop Robinson. This guy at his current state where he currently is, very young prospect, a lot of room for development, probably projects best as a designated pass rusher, but an incredible designated pass rusher, in my opinion, a guy that I think can grow and continue to get stronger. Does not have the greatest length, but that doesn't bother me all that much because He has unparalleled speed and bend around the edge. And I think that he is going to be weaponized in that Miami Dolphins defense. I think that they, when fully healthy, whenever that happens with that defensive front, they're going to be able to wreak havoc on backfields. And I think that that's going to be a big problem for a lot of teams that they face. 22, Eagles, first cornerback finally comes off the board. Quinyon Mitchell, that is an A. Big time A, maybe even an A plus for the Philadelphia Eagles. Last year, they just were able to pick up Jalen Carter at 9 overall very casually. Now at 22 overall, you pick up the top corner in the class who I had rated in the teens, a guy who has aced every step of the draft process when it comes to watching his tape. Awesome. Senior Bowl, awesome. Combine, awesome. Quinyon Mitchell brings the aggressive Philadelphia mindset. He is an absolute dog out there. He's an elite athlete. He's got great ball skills. I think he's going to be great for the Eagles. At 23, the Jaguars, where they traded down from 17 with the Vikings. A plus for the process of trading back 6 spots to acquire 3 draft picks. And then also an A for Brian Thomas Jr. The Jaguars desperately needed a wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence on the outside, somebody that has the potential to be a true alpha. And in the meantime, right now, what does he bring to the field? An incredible vertical threat at 6'3", 210 pounds, 4.33 speed, 38.5-inch vertical, long arms, big hands. A guy who can be a red zone threat as well. The Jaguars have struggled in the red zone. They've struggled to push the ball down the field. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to bring that to them. And the good thing for them and for Brian Thomas Jr., he doesn't have to be the wide receiver one from day one. He's not forced into a position that's disadvantageous for him, right? He can grow in this offense, be a Z, be a vertical threat. You have Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Gabe Davis. You've got guys that can catch passes. Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't have to do it all from the get-go. At 24, the Lions, another A+. Terrion Arnold falls to 24. They move up to get him. Obviously, trading up, not always the best proposition from an analytical standpoint, but Lions, Terrion Arnold, that is a perfect fit. He plays like a Lion. He plays with that edge that Dan Campbell is looking for. So I think that's going to be fantastic for them. At 25, the Green Bay Packers took Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. He's a tackle with shorter arms, not the longest arms. I mean, they're just under 33 inches. It's not like he has 31.5-inch or 32-inch arms or something like that. But Jordan Morgan is a good athlete. I think that he's a good pass protector, a good run game guy as well. He kind of fits the Packers mold, in my opinion, in terms of his athleticism. Played really well in 2023, despite coming off the knee injury. I think that this is a B-. I had a second-round grade on him, and the player selected just after him, to me, would have been a better fit for the Green Bay Packers. And that is Graham Barton to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he has potential 5-position flex. He's an A+ for the Bucs. I think he's going to come in and certainly in Tampa play on the interior of the offensive line to get his career going. And he's just a great athlete, a great finisher in the run game, a good pass protector. Love that fit for Graham Barton and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At 27, Darius Robinson to the Arizona Cardinals. I had more of a second-round grade on Darius Robinson. I like his game a lot. I think that he was a late bloomer, a guy that can play edge, can kick inside and rush from the interior. Incredible length. A guy that uses that length really well, weaponizes his hands, dominated at the Senior Bowl, dominated at Missouri in his final year. It's a B- for me because it's a little early. I think there could have been some better prospects that they could have taken, but I think it's going to end up working out for them. And again, that's their second first-round pick. They already landed Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think if you're a Cardinals fan, you can feel really good about what they did. The Chiefs traded up to 28, Xavier Worthy. B- for the process, trading up for a receiver that's 165 pounds, but probably an A+ result just because Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to know how to use this guy. They're going to get him the football deep down the field, probably at all 3 levels of the field. And I think that, is his skill set a little bit redundant with Hollywood Brown? Maybe, but I do think you can use him again at all 3 levels of the field. I do worry about a 165-pound receiver, but if there's a team that's going to figure out how to use him, it is the Kansas City Chiefs. And I know some people want to say, oh, well, they couldn't figure out how to use Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman was not Xavier Worthy. Worthy is a legitimate receiving threat right now. He's a good route runner and a guy who, again, 4.21 speed, you just can't coach it. So I think the Chiefs are probably going to end up looking like geniuses for this one, but I think it was a B- process overall. 29, the Cowboys, they select Tyler Guyton To me, that's a C minus. I think that Tyler Guyton, while talented, while he has all pro potential, he has a long way to go. For me, he was a mid to late second round valuation. I just don't think that he's going to come in and immediately be an impact player. Like, he doesn't know how to use his hands. He doesn't really know how to use his feet consistently. I think he looks lost during a lot of the run game stuff that you see at Oklahoma. So he's got a long way to go. But the Cowboys, they do know how to develop offensive linemen. So again, C minus process in my opinion, but probably will end up looking a lot better for the Dallas Cowboys than that C minus grade. The Ravens take Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. To me, that's a C plus. Another prospect who the game is incomplete, right? Great coverage player. Unbelievable athlete when you talk about the 4.2, 940-yard dash. But I think if I'm an opposing offense, I'm trying to run outside zone. I'm trying to run toss crack. I'm trying to run the ball right at Nate Wiggins and make him defend it. Make him get off blocks and go get the ball carrier. And if he can't do that, that's gonna lead to struggles. And right now, I don't think he can. I don't think he has the willingness. I don't think he has the want to. And more importantly, I don't think he has the strength to do it. But I do think as a pure coverage player, Nate Wiggins is about as good as it gets. So you can get excited about that if you're a Ravens fan. 31 49ers, they take Ricky Pearsall. It's a B for me. You need to see what happens here with their wide receiver room. There's a lot of rumors about different things that could be going on with Brandon Ayuk, with Deebo Samuel. But Ricky Pearsall, did I have a first round grade on him? No, but I did have a early second for Ricky Pearsall. Great athlete, great route runner. I think he can be used in a variety of ways and weaponized in the San Francisco 49ers offense. So I like that pick. Panthers, they trade up to 32 to get Xavier Legette. That's a B for me. I think this is a good range for Xavier Legette. I had him a little bit lower on the board, but a late breakout due to some unfortunate circumstances during his college career off the field, but a guy who has incredible, height, weight, speed combination, can go up and get the football, showed steady hands during his final year at South Carolina, fastest timed ball carrier on the planet in 2023, college or pro. So Xavier Legette, I think getting a guy like that in the Dave Canales offense for Byron Young, it makes a lot of sense. I like it. And, he gets to stay in the Carolinas. So that's good. And then finally, a shout out to the Bills for amassing a lot more draft capital. This is a team that lost a ton throughout the offseason in terms of talent because of cap concerns. Now the Buffalo Bills are able to kind of rebuild. They hold the 33rd overall pick, the top pick on day 2. And I think they could potentially move off of that one again and continue to build up draft capital. They need to rebuild a lot of that roster. So I have no problem with them doing that. I think that was a really good look for Brandon Beane. That's it for these grades. I thought it was a really fun first round, offense heavy, very little defense. There's a lot of players I think should have come off the board that are still available, especially when you're talking about, Johnny Newton, talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry, some others. We'll see how it plays out on night 2 of the draft. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Y'all have a good one.